welcome back. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Joyous Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. You'll have noticed that I've been a bit quiet recently. I've basically had no ideas, but I'm just going to do my wrap up for the year, and it's been a great year, really. I've done so much travelling, so much. Had basically the journey of a lifetime this year, as you may or may not have known. I've also started a degree, which is going okay at the moment, and I'm having a baby, so in June. So it's all a bit go here, it's all a bit hectic, and hopefully I will still be dropping in and posting videos when I've got ideas. But when I don't have ideas, I haven't had any ideas, I'm sorry. So I haven't read as much as I did last year. I haven't made my Goodreads target, but I'm just going to go through what I have read on Goodreads, and you can have a look and see what you think. So this is my Goodreads for 2019. I've read 85 books. It's currently the 28th, so there is still time for me to read another book or two, especially as we're only 5 or 6 chapters away from the end of Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan, which we're reading as a bedtime story. So 85 books. Shortest book was Digging Up the Tombs of the Kings. This was a book about an archaeological dig site which we went to in Cyprus. I found it quite interesting. It's obviously quite short, and we loved going to the site, so that was really why I got it, because it was just really exciting. The second book is, the longest book is The Count of Monte Cristo, which I read when I was in Nice and Monaco, or I partly read in Nice at the very beginning of the year. And so those are both books about places I've been on my travels, which is quite exciting. My most popular book I read this year, is Lightning Thief. I'd read it before. I find them all, Rick Riordan's books, quite engaging, and if you like Greek myth or any kind of myth books, urban fantasy based on myths, this is a great place to start. There's a lot of this universe, but Lightning Thief is the first one. The least popular is actually a magazine of short horror stories. I heard an author reading his children's book while at Worldcon, and I thought, I quite like this. I wonder whether he's written anything for adults, and he wrote one of the horror stories in here, and I had fun reading that. Highest rated, Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I did like it. I liked it. I can't remember anything about it at this stage, although I'm sure I would if I looked at the book. And I'm sure you've read it before. So let's have a look through here. That's the other thing. I haven't read a lot of new books this year because I've been away a lot. I haven't really been paying attention to what's new. This one, Dragon Pearl, I was super excited for, and I think it's probably my top book of the year. And it's aimed at age 12. It's about a young girl who's also a nine-tailed fox who lives in space, and her brother is accused of deserting from the army, and she knows that can't be what happened. But because everybody thinks foxes are kind of bad, no one else is really surprised about this, so she has to go and find her brother and rescue his reputation, really. And that's what happens. It's part of the Rick Riordan Presents series, which is modern books based on mythologies that don't normally get a look in Western fiction. So Yoon-Ha Lee is a Korean author. Most of his books draw heavily on Korean mythology, and this one is no mistake. Most of his books have a lot of sex and violence. This one has less of both. And it's brilliant, really brilliant book. If that at all sounds interesting to you, I love his writing. He's just a brilliant author, and I would definitely recommend that. That's my favourite book of the year. Prayer for Own Meanie I read as a part of a buddy read, and I'm not good at buddy reading. I probably won't do that again, but I'm glad I read it, and I probably wouldn't have got to it on my own. So there's that. Robots vs. Fairies is a great book of short stories about robots and fairies. and I highly recommend it if you like short stories or fantasy. Some of the others are books that my daughter's got in her owl crate. So some of those are quite new. Lots of murder mysteries. I'm not sure how many of you actually like crime books, but if you do, let me know and I'll try and talk about them a bit more. Let's have a look through here. See, all of these are somewhat older books that you've probably heard of. Or maybe some of them are from last year, actually, I think. Some of these I read specifically for an awards. I see some of them I liked, and nothing really. Oh, run out of pictures. I should. Yeah, not a lot to say about most of these. Oh, this one, The Book of the Unnamed Midwife, is really grim. But it's about what happens when society is all the women die, and they keep dying, and they keep dying in childbirth, and the babies keep dying, and then eventually she finds this woman who's midwife by profession before, finds some people who need her help, and she manages to help her, and there is survival, but it is grim. And but well worth reading if you're at all interested in obstetrics in post-apocalyptic fiction, which wasn't a thing I'd thought about before, so I'm really glad I read it. Garden Spells, that's a really sweet magical realism book about two sisters and one of their daughters who have kind of small magic, and they use it to help people around them, and they use it to help themselves in the end. There's romance, there's sibling love, there's coming to terms with your past. I quite liked it. I'm not sure what else to say about most of these, actually. Have you read any of them? Let me try reloading the page, see if I can get those missing pictures to come up. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, the Star Touched Queen. Oh, I love that. My husband got it for me because I enjoyed the Roshani Chokshi in the Rick Riordan Presents series, and it was just brilliant. It's about a girl who's kind of forgotten, and she's not really liked by any of her family, who nevertheless gets chosen to become this otherworld princess, and how she kind of responds to suddenly being wanted, and how she accepts love. Cruel World, yes, that's the first in that series, and I really love it. It's cosy mysteries about a needle workshop, and if that sounds like your thing, then give it a go. Fated Sky is the second Lady Astronaut second in the Lady Astronaut series, and if you like Lady Astronaut, then you should read that. If you haven't read The Lady Astronaut of Mars, then it's about after a comet hits Earth and NASA realizes that they're going to have to fix the situation and send people out to space, and it's heavily based in history, except of course for the comet at the start, but there's a lot of realism, and it feels very true to life, like how that might have gone after a comet, and it's just lovely. And yeah, there's a lot of, I quite like Liz Mysteries books. She writes crime set in Bradford. She's Polish and her partner is, I don't know, but she writes a lot of books with Polish people in, and a lot of books with, I have no idea what I'm saying here. I'm just going to cut that bit out. So yeah, have a look through. If there's any there you want me to talk about in greater detail. Oh, this is The Two Master and Detective by Aliette de Bodard. is a brilliant piece of Sherlock Holmes in space fanfic, sort of. If that sounds like your thing, give it a go. And yeah, there's quite a lot there. Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention this one, Lost Girl, which was my other top book of the year. So again, it's aimed at 8 to 12-year-olds, and it's about these two sisters, one of whom is very down to earth and practical, and the other of whom is kind of away with the fairies most of the time. And they get separated for school, and it's about how they find their way back to each other, more or less, and how they cope without each other. And it was a brilliant book, and I cried my eyes out, but I loved it so much. So yeah, I think this was a great year for children's books, and hopefully next year I'll read a few more new books and a few more of my to read pile, and and hopefully I'll be back here with a few more books next time. How about you? Have you had a good year? Have you embarked on any exciting adventures? Have you read as much as you hoped? Have you got any exciting books left to read for next year? Let me know. Bye.